So last thing I want to talk about to close out the show is this particular take on the abortion issue that is really dear to me. I guess the argument that really creeps me out. So again, for those of you who don't know, I had a video on TikTok that went pretty viral. It got 1 million views on it, and it was regarding the Texas heartbeat ban. I've been arguing a lot with people over the past 2 weeks, and a lot of those people are young, which there's an app with a lot of young people on it. That's how TikTok is, but there are older people. But usually when I see arguments and they're really, really bad, the first thing I do is go to the profile and I'll look at the people posting it and I'll see how young they are. Sometimes they put their age on there, 15, 17, whatever. Usually if it's between like 15 to 23, the opinions are really bad. And I don't want to be ageist like that because I feel like I was a pretty smart kid at those age groups. But I don't know, I was always a facts don't care about your feeling kind of person. And these people are so gung-ho on spewing their mottos rather than thinking things through. And so not too long ago, I was at home and someone had left a comment on my video and they kind of did a thread of their talking points. And they said that, you know, basically minorities need this. This is going to hurt minorities if they can't have the access to the abortions. And this is going to cause more poverty in the world. So this is not a new opinion. Other people have been saying that from the beginning. Biden has made that case. Cori Bush has made that case very early on, which I pointed out that this is a eugenics talking point because you're basically making the argument that it's a bad thing that more minorities won't be killing their children. And then other people are going far enough to say, well, if these people survive, then these kids are going to live through poverty and all kinds of things. Some people allege that these people will live through abuse and all kinds of other stuff. So I don't know why there's so much assumptions going out because there's rich white kids who are abused. So I don't know why you're so gung-ho thinking that people who are in poverty are going to get abused. And there, I guess there's women, maybe they're thinking about women who are in abusive situations and want to get abortions to spare their children from that. But that's also very problematic because obviously there's some force there because there's abuse. We don't need to make cover for men like that who would treat women so poorly that they would want to think that that's their best option. This is a really abusive industry to women, and it's crazy to me that women are tricked into thinking that it's so empowering, especially young people who aren't thinking things through. They say the craziest, darndest things. I've already said this, like my body, my choice. Obviously, there's another body. They'll say it's just a clump of cells. You're a clump of cells. I've heard people say it's a clump of dead cells. I'm like, what? No. People arguing about the word fetus as if fetus doesn't mean unborn baby. And they're like, see, but it says unborn. I'm like, unborn just means not born. It doesn't mean not baby. Like, what's wrong with you? Just the craziest arguments. But this girl who said the comment about this will create more poor people, according to her profile, like picture, this is a young white woman. And I look on her page and she's like, you know, LGBT, all this other kind of like ally kind of stuff. Typical kind of progressive looking page. And so I commented to her and said, you people think so little of minorities that it's just disgusting. And I said, we deserve to live. And so I really dislike basically all abortion arguments. But the one that really pretty much, like I said, weirds me out, creeps me out is when people start talking about you need to do it because these kids will live in poverty. And that is a eugenics argument. People push in the abortion industry, we're eugenicists, and people who are into eugenics wanted like a less population. They wanted population control. And they wanted less minorities around. They wanted less dim-witted folks around. They wanted less people who were poor. All right, it's all about population control. And there's those people, that's what they wanted when they got gnarled together, when they got Planned Parenthood together. And we are seeing those arguments today, like being blasted proudly. And it's weird and it's creepy and it's wrong. One of the most amazing things about it is that life doesn't stay like this. Life doesn't move like this. You know, some of you watching who may know me may know that there were times my family were hard pressed sometimes. There were times when, we were going out eating at Bennigan's, which doesn't exist anymore. And there were times when my dad was like, okay, everybody, you got $2 Taco Bell options. There were times when we had refrigerators full of food, and there were times when it was scarce. And, one time my youngest sister got up in church and testified, and she said something about there not being a lot of food in the house. And we were just like, oh my gosh, baby Tina can't testify no more. But my dad was mortified, but at the same time, he's like, well, maybe it's good that they know, because the ministry always came first in our house, and we made sacrifices often, and we still often do. But sometimes it got really tight. And there was 2 times we didn't have a home. Well, I lived in Pontiac, grew up, we lost our home, we ended up moving out to Holly. And it seemed like life was so hard trying to pay for that little trailer park that we lived in. But then time went on, we grew up, opportunities opened up, because life isn't like this. Life goes up, life goes down. You have a dream, sometimes you can achieve them, sometimes you fall flat on your face, and sometimes you get back up again. But some years ago, I was thinking about, I was paying for, a place of my own that was the same amount of money that it seemed so hard to get by on, to get to, so we could just survive. Life moves. It's not like this. So a child coming into this world, into a life of poverty, that is not a death sentence. And poverty is very relative. We don't live in a third world country. I mean, I don't know where you're watching this from, but I don't live in a third world country. And these kids in Texas don't live in a third world country. We have very generous social programs. And besides social programs, you have very charitable people. If people are really desperate, they don't need a butcher at Planned Parenthood. Take them to a pregnancy crisis center. Take them to a church. Take them somewhere where someone will love on them and try to help them. Don't tell them that the best solution, the best option for them is to destroy their baby, which is alive. It's a life, and it's its own life. But besides the fact that it's its own life, it's a part of you. Half of you was used to make that thing. That is your lineage right there. And having an abortion isn't going to make you not a parent. It's just going to make you a parent of someone who has passed away. And in this instance, killed. It's not a fresh start. It's not an annulment. It was killed. And many women face regrets. Some women can face physical harm. I've had a friend who I've had on the show talked about her physical harm from abortion. It's not just a reset button that you get to start a game all over again. So there's really not a lot of consideration to the women, how abortion can harm them, but they're trying to just totally get you to ignore the life that you're wiping out. But no, poverty is not an excuse to go around killing people like we're watching the Purge movie. As a matter of fact, when one of those films came out, I wrote a status about how I was thinking about how we have a real life purge that happens every day in America. So poverty is not a good excuse to wipe out folks. It's not, because life moves. Some years ago, my oldest sister, she was a security guard at a GM plant. And we were in church, and my dad started praying over her, and he said, I see you, and I don't know if any of you are watching or religious, but he started prophesying to her. He said, I see you being able to, there's going to come a day when you're going to be flying around the country, meeting dignitaries and royalty and doing all kinds of stuff. And my second youngest sister, Angelina, just kind of thought to herself, like, Gina is a security guard. How is she going to be doing any of that? And you know what? Not too long after that, it was a couple years, but it wasn't too far down the line. She got into politics, first working at the Detroit office, and that was her job, to like manage the office. And then she got into like field work, and then she was over the county, several different counties. She was over Macomb, Oakland, and Wayne. And then she ended up getting a job at the RNC. And then she became the director of women engagement and urban engagement. And she was doing the thing that my dad said that she was going to do, when it seemed impossible, looking at her circumstances as a security guard at GM. Her life changed dramatically within a couple of years. Your life can dramatically change by putting out a viral video on YouTube or Facebook or TikTok. We live in the greatest country in the world. And she ran for party chair a couple years ago, and she said in a line, and the people she ran against, they tried to use our past, our financial hardship, as a way to embarrass her and push her out the race, but it just became part of her stump speech, which a lot of people appreciated, by the way. And she said, even though I was homeless, I was never hopeless, because we live in America, United States of America, the greatest country on the planet, and God is my provider. And people always would give it thunderous applause because it's true. Poverty is not a death sentence, nor should it be. And no matter how hard times would get, we still at least had a lot of love in my home. And I know not everybody gets to have that. So I'm very appreciative of the life that I had, regardless of the hard times. But no matter how hard times may have been, I would never look at like my youngest sibling, Tina, who is so amazing, and say, I wish she wasn't here so I could have had more toys. or so we could have had, a little bit more money here and there. I would never do that. So think about someone that you might be wiping from the face of existence. For what? So you could get an Emmy, an Oscar, so you can finish grad school. And that's another thing. People who don't have anything are extraordinarily resourceful. And sometimes people don't have money because they waste it. Let's be for real. But like I said, there's generous programs that we have. I don't know if you've ever cashiered and seen people use their EBT cards and seen all the stuff that they buy, like they're on a game show. Some people get so much stuff that they allow other people to use their cards for their groceries, for things. There's a woman I know who is like using her benefits and her, child support and all that stuff. She's getting a degree in law. There's people who know how to work the system and use this. Like, people are resourceful. People hustle. And just because you look down on them and oh gosh, who would want a life in poverty? Why would you want to subject them to that? Because they deserve the right to live. And if life is so bad, everyone who's having these debates, these discussions, they've already been born. And not to be so morbid, I guess is the word, but anytime you decide that you don't want to exercise that right to life, you don't have to. But we make a decision every day to live, because life is obviously worth living. Life is obviously worth living. And there's people who came from nothing. There's a comedian, he was on In Living Color and some other things. I can't remember the name of the actor, but he did. My mom just like taped it the other day, a documentary on him, but he said his mother found him in the garbage and she adopted him. A white woman adopted a black child, found in the garbage. And he became a star. We deserve to live. We deserve to live. I don't care what your dumb eugenics argument is. And really, people make a lot of people are making these arguments not because they're malicious and evil, just because they're ignorant and they're not thinking it through. We don't need your white savior complex to argue us out of existence. You're not helping anyone. So to these kids who keep coming on my page on TikTok and all these other places to say these dumb arguments, and not just them, to Cori Bush, to President Joe Biden, we deserve to live. We deserve to live. And you may say, well, women deserve to make that choice. We can get into a big discussions about that. Obviously, it's not their body. There's another body, because it's the point of the abortion, to kill that person and to make sure, and then you got to make sure all the remains are out. So there's undoubtedly someone else there. And we can have discussions on that. But people pointing out that people who are in poverty or minorities are going to be especially harmed, as if having your child is harmful. I know so many people who had a child and with dudes they shouldn't have been with. And a friend of mine, they were in a really, really dark place. And this isn't a black woman, this is a white woman. She was in a really, really dark place, doing a lot of bad things, a lot of harm to herself, one way or another. And she just did not care about her life. And she ended up getting pregnant. And she said her son saved her life. And she says, there's no exaggeration, her son saved her life because it put a lot of things into perspective about how she lived her life. Including leaving the guy who knocked her up. And she said, you know he was bad if I left him while I was extremely pregnant. But she started getting her life in order. And she ended up meeting someone and marrying them who loved her child like their own and ended up having more. And she has a beautiful family. I don't know much more to say right now besides we deserve to live. And I'm so sick and tired of people trying to use this argument. Life happens to people. Bad things will happen to people. Life doesn't move like that. It's a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down. There's twists and there's turns. There's thrills, and there's times you may very well cry and scream. And there's nothing in the Constitution that's going to prevent you from having those ups or those downs. It just protects your God-given rights, which I believe one of those is a right to life that these children deserve. That's why we're pro-life. We're against abortion because we believe they're entitled to the right to life, period. But you trying to scale someone's value based on their circumstances, especially things they cannot control. Maybe they will live a grand life. Maybe they'll change the world. Maybe they'll be a not so great person. Maybe they will suffer and only know suffering. Who knows? But you don't get to make that determination. Or you shouldn't be able to make that determination. I suppose we do allow people to make that determination, but people try to say that we're the ones trying to be controlling to women into their bodies and so on, but you're out there playing God. And there's people out there justifying it because of their ups and their downs, or possible ups and downs. Their mother could hit the lotto the day after they have the abortion. You never know. Life is a tricky thing. But I know that my life is valuable. And I've enjoyed it. Regardless of the ups and the downs. So please stop trying to justify abortion. Because we don't fit into your dystopian novel. You can't force everyone to fit into a world that's not going to know suffering. That just doesn't exist. And I honestly don't think you care either. To be frank with you, I think it's just a talking point. One that you haven't thought through very much. But there are people who legitimately believe in population control who push these things. And those people are evil. I don't think everyone who says these things are evil. I just think you're uninformed and you're not thinking things through. So hopefully this conversation has made you think a little bit harder on the things that you're saying. But shame on Cori Bush, shame on President Joe Biden, and other top elected officials who spew this talking point. You're harmful and you're disgusting. And that's how I'm going to close up my show. Thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blackteennews.com. share my content, share articles that I've written. Please make sure to check out the store, different merchandise that we have on the store. Please support Black Tea News in this way. Or you can also support by just going to blacktnews.com/donate. And call action if you enjoy what I do here and you want to see it grow and continue and keep it going. Please consider leaving a donation. And please make sure that you're following me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all at Black Tea News. And on Twitter, I'm at True Black Tea. Thank you guys so much. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.